stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Attendance?
I will take attendance. For those that don't know, Mike Dell will be absent from today's meeting. So I'm going to take attendance, starting with Josh Fedor.
Present.
Katie Glenn.
Present.
Josh Martin.
Present.
Jim Hurst.
Present.
Amanda Miller.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Perfect. Next is the approval of the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, moving forward, motion approved. Meeting minutes approved. Okay, first item on our docket, we've got two withdrawals. 20226-07 DSV. Can I get a motion to withdraw this request?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have another withdrawal, 2022613 DSV. If I could have a motion to withdraw?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Oh, all in favor? Can we do a collective?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, continued business.
Okay. All right. Let me pull up. You don't hand me my paper staff report right there. So this is continued from our previous May 6th meeting. To recap what the request is, the petitioner is asking to encroach 3 feet into a platted 50-foot build line, rear setback line in the Holiday Farms PUD. There was quite a bit of discussion as it relates to this from the last meeting. A continuance was granted. We had a gentleman who had some questions or concerns related to the request. So I believe Mr. Andreoli is here representing that gentleman. And as an update, as far as progress from the last May 6th meeting, I know discussions occurred, I believe, between the petitioner and Mr. Culpepper, who owns the property to the north. I will let those parties speak to the progress of those conversations. Just to recap from staff's positioning, we did not support the request based off of the findings that are listed in the staff report. He did not meet all 3 criteria for approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and if y'all have any questions about the staff report, I'm happy to go back over that. But to save time, I will end that as the summary and turn it over to you to answer any questions you have, if you have any. Back to you guys.
No?
I don't have any. You were absent.
Yes, I was. I'm a little bit up to speed, but
Okay.
yeah. I understand that the petitioner has a presentation to lay out for us today. Is that?
I don't know if there's a presentation. I don't, based off the last correspondence I had with Mr. Andreoli, there was a possible landscape plan that had been presented. Again, I will let you all speak to the details on that. So I'm gonna stop the staff comments. I'll answer any questions related to the staff report.
Okay.
And I will let the petitioner and Mr. Andreoli discuss any progress that occurred between their conversations.
Perfect. If you could state your name and address.
Yeah, Pete Gray, Carmel. It's 1010 3rd Avenue Southwest in Carmel, and I'm owner of Executive Homes. So subsequent to the last meeting, I talked with Mr. Culpepper after the meeting briefly, and he expressed to me verbally that his concern wasn't so much this patio, but the fact that future encroachments into that 50-foot right-of-way, and also expressed to me a little bit about wanting to perhaps make the buffer, landscaping buffer between the north property line of Holiday Farms and his property a little more robust, I'll use the term. And so you probably have, I think you received correspondence perhaps from Mr. Andreoli, is that how you say your name? From representing Mr. Culpepper, but what we basically, again, it is a 3-foot encroachment into the 50-foot rear setback line and about 22 feet wide. So, so that, a 3-foot by 22-foot portion of the patio would encroach. It's a little over 1.5% of that rear area. But at any rate, I think we came to a mutually beneficial agreement that Mr. Culpepper would like to have us plant some pine trees along the back property line of that of the property I represent to enhance the buffer between the two projects, and my homeowner was fully in line with that as well. He'd love to have the additional buffering to go along with it as well. So I don't know if if there's anything that I presented last month that you'd like to ask about or recap or revisit, but.
Not for me. Is there anything from the board? Okay.
No, I'm interested to hear about this landscaping, so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I'm interested to hear about the landscaping, but I'm assuming Mr. Andreoli will explain that to us, or?
Yeah, we could probably both do it. I think we've kind of, hopefully that would confirm we're on the same page. Yeah, we want to just plant some pine trees along the back property line, which there's already a buffer there. I can't remember what it's called. There's some kind of a tree preservation buffer or something there. We just want to plant pine trees along that to increase the buffer that is existing.
So you guys just have a verbal plan? There's nothing that's been detailed out?
We talked about, we thought it'd take 7 or 8 trees to, properly spaced to do what we haven't gone out and staked out where the trees would go, but with the spacing that they recommend for like a pine tree, it'd take about 7 or 8 of them to fill across that back.
Does Mr. Andrelli want to speak? Yes. Okay. If you could just state your name and address.
For the record, Mike Andreoli, 1393 West Oak Street. I represent Mr. Culpepper, and as you will kindly recall, he did attend last month's meeting and express some concerns, and I think, and I tried to memorialize those in a letter to you in terms of the concerns. I don't think his concern was necessarily directed so much to the 3-foot encroachment, so long as the pine trees would be 5 foot tall and spaced out as indicated by the builder along the back property line. We haven't located linearly north or south as to where they're going to be located, because I know that we've got to make sure they're not any drainage easements back there, but it'd be across the back property line in some location. That was acceptable to Mr. Culpepper. He continues to be concerned about precedential nature and a number of other things connected with this, not so much for this project, but he owns that entire common property line, and there's going to be a series of houses put along the entire property line, and he was concerned about not necessarily have to come back here frequently if there's other variance requests. And I explained to him that, the board deals with the petitions that are filed and has to deal with them on a case-by-case basis and can't make any broad sweeping analysis or changes as it relates to any particular petition. They have to deal with that petition based on your good offices as to whether they comply. Our only concern is if in fact you do approve this, that it be subject to the agreement with regard to the trees that we've talked about here. Other than that, we have no additional comments to it, and he's not opposed to it in terms of the current petition in front of you. Thank you.
The lot's 80 foot wide, you're talking 7 to 8 trees, or 7 to 8 trees. So that's one tree every 10 feet at 5 feet in height. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah, I mean, we'd want to start, they
Yeah,
recommend
you might
spacing,
stagger
yeah,
'em
they recommend
some.
spacing minimum 10 to 15 feet apart. I'm thinking more somewhere 10 to 12 to, you don't want to place them so closely that 3 years from now they look awful, but you want to make them so that they have an impact, immediately. So, yeah, 10 to 15 feet's the recommended spacing. I'm thinking more like 10 to 12 on those. And then we'd start, I don't want to put it right on the property line, so we'd probably pull in a little bit off each property line and then space it from there.
But they're going in between that green belt line and the 50-foot setback line, correct? They're not going in the green
Let me pull
belt?
my, yes.
Okay.
Because, and you can, I don't know if your plan shows it, but there's a drainage easement there as well, so we gotta plant them high enough on that berm. We don't want to, block any drainage or anything, but yeah, the further to the back, we would prefer, and I think Mr. Culpepper would also prefer that as well.
I don't know how I get beyond hardship. I appreciate the petitioner reaching out to the neighboring homeowner, and it sounds like the neighboring homeowner is a immensely reasonable human being, but I don't know how to get beyond hardship. So if anybody has words on that for me, I'm glad to listen.
I'm just trying to get clarification on this landscaping, more or less. I'm still kind of stuck on hardship as well. I don't,
And this lot had a 50-foot setback, which is kind of atypical for that area.
You say atypical?
Yeah.
Yeah,
not
it
typical.
is. I mean, 35 is one of the bigger setback. They go as low as like, they might go as low as 10. I know 20s are very common, 30s are common, 50. And again, it was in an effort to keep the buffer area between Mr. Culpepper's property. It was intentional, but it's the biggest setback. It's not even identified as one of the setbacks on their matrix in the design. So, yeah, 50's a big setback, especially for holiday farms. And I think is the city 20 feet, Jonathan?
It'll depend on, as far as just the base zoning, not a PUD, right? It'll depend on the zoning. But let's say for R1, the rear yard would be 20 feet for a primary structure. It also varies depending on primary structure or an accessory structure. But yeah, 20 feet. It could go as low as 5 feet if it's an accessory structure. I do just want to point out that there is a 35-foot drainage easement running along the back. So any condition that y'all place on his approval, if y'all choose to do so, the trees need to stay out of the drainage easement. Otherwise, DPW will likely remove them.
How far off is that typical for
The drainage easement, the 35-foot drainage easement,
to stay away from it, I mean?
they can just be right out of it. I mean, they just, the standard is you just can't be in it,
Okay.
right? So 36 feet from the property line is technically out of it. Now, I would suspect you probably don't want roots and limbs and everything growing over it because they have the right to come and clear out their easement, and they would saw half your tree down if it grew over the easement, right? So,
To answer off the plat, I'm looking at, it's the 15-foot green belt, and then the 35. So there's 15 feet back there between the property line and the drainage easement that would be where the plantings would go.
So the trees are going into the green belt?
I'm sorry?
You're wanting to plant the trees in the green belt?
Yes, yes.
Is there trees there currently?
I'll use the term vegetation more than trees, which is one of the reasons Mr. Culpepper was wanting to enhance that a little bit. There's vegetation there, some of it trees, some of it just kind of overgrowth, but some trees.
Okay. Like I said, I was just trying to get a little clarification on where the trees were going if.
Yep.
Yeah, you wish to speak?
Discussing this with Mr. Culpepper, he's got a fairly long drive off of 421 that goes all the way back, and that's where that common property line with Holiday Farms meets the other houses that are going to be built along there. This particular house is not up next to his house. It's a little farther, or a little closer to Michigan Road, I believe, than right next to his house. And that I think was one of the factors that, from his standpoint, with a 3-foot overhang, notwithstanding the concerns that the board has, but just from his standpoint, with a 3-foot overhang, it's probably not going to make as much difference in and along that area, given the fact that it's not up by his house. So I just wanted to point that out to the board for using it for whatever way you think it's appropriate. Thank you.
Does anyone have any comments or questions?
I'm stuck on the 3-foot encroachment, but now it's a greater encroachment. So now if you add landscaping to it, we're not just going 3 feet, we're going much further into that setback. So it's not, did you have something, Josh?
I was gonna say, trees don't count as an encroachment, do they?
So the trees will not count as an encroachment. They would just have to be located within that 15-foot green belt.
Okay, so,
That's really the only logical place to put them, because you can't put them in the 35-foot drainage easement. And then at that point, you're close to 50 foot from the property line. So it really wouldn't be too helpful unless it is in that green belt, so.
From an encroachment standpoint, and the ordinance is really written kind of fuzzy, but landscaping isn't any, I mean, you can plant trees in your backyard outside, within a, rear building setback line. That's not an encroachment. Landscaping and trees, bushes and all that. So it's really structure. The reason it's called a building setback line is building. It applies to buildings.
I think we've had a conversation before where amending the PUD, some of these PUD requirements seems like the path forward, but obviously that's not possible tonight. It's something that would have to be talked about with the developer, but yeah, I don't think this is necessarily hardship, but considering Mr. Culpepper has agreed to it, and we're adding landscaping, I don't know, this is a sticking point for me.
If I might, I am going to draw a distinction. This is actually a platted setback. It's not part of the PUD. It's
Oh,
written
it's
on the plat.
outside of the PUD.
Yeah, it's written into the plat. So at earlier conversations we've had about how developers could think about this and approach these constant variances. In this case, whereas it may, I believe it was evidenced at the last meeting that the developer and Mr. Culpepper had this negotiated arrangement, but it was added to the plat.
Right.
It is.
That's right, yeah. Is there anyone online that has any comments? Do we have anyone back there? Okay, just to make sure. Any further comments from the board? Is everyone, I know where you stand, Jim.
Trying to make it easy.
I guess I'd have to agree with Jim on this one. Does someone want to make a motion on this? Or are there any other conversations?
No,
Well, I've been most vocal, so I will make a motion. I move that docket number 2026-04 DSV Development Standards Variance to encroach 3 feet into the 50-foot rear yard setback for construction of a patio at 10850 Dartmoor Court B, denied as presented and described.
Is there a second?
Second.
Get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Amanda Miller,
Aye.
Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Josh Martin.
Nay.
Repeat that one more time. I didn't catch it. What was your vote?
Nay, no.
Okay. Motion to deny passes by a vote of 4-1.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to docket number 202614, SE. This is under new business. Staff, if you want to kick us off whenever you're ready.
Yes, ma'am. So, 2026-14 SE. So this, you may remember, the petitioner came before the BZA. It's now been a couple of years ago, asking essentially for the same types of requests that will be asked tonight. And in 2024, a special exception was granted for this property to allow the use of single-family in the ag zoning district. And at that time, there were also variances granted to allow for the construction of a single-family residence. Since 2024, and since those approvals were granted, the petitioner has done two things that have altered those approvals from 2024. Those two things being, he has purchased an adjoining property, and so the parcel in question has expanded. And along with that, the house that was presented in 2024 conceptually is different from the one that you will see presented today. And so those differences resulted in staff needing to come back to you for, number one, approval of a special exception to, again, allow the use of single family in the ag zoning district. And then if that special exception is granted, there is a list of requested variances that you will see listed out on staff report for 2026-08. A total of 6 variances, 4 setback encroachments, 1 development standard variance to allow for the use of a private well, and another variance to allow separation between homes in the ag zoning district to be less than 140 feet. So getting to the one at hand, which is the special exception, which is 2024-14, just so staff can read our findings for the record. As far as finding number 1, the proposed use will not be injurious to public health, safety, comfort, community, moral standards, convenience, or general welfare. Staff, we agree with the petitioner. This request will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of our community. The petitioner is requesting to build a single-family dwelling on the property. This is a common use in the surrounding area. The parcel has access to sewer and will utilize well to access water if granted by the BZA. The road is adequate for single-family use. Development of a single-family residence will require an approval of a residential building permit, which is intended to ensure the structure meets building and fire codes. And at the time of this writing, public noticing was completed. As staff, we did not receive any concerns from the public regarding this request. So criteria number 1, we believe this one was granted, or this one was met. Criteria number 2, the proposed use will not be injurious or will not injure or adversely affect the adjacent area or property values. Again, we agree with the petitioner. The property is currently undeveloped. Improving the property By constructing the single-family residence, we believe this will add value to the site. This is a similar use to the adjoining properties. We believe the development of this parcel will add value, increasing overall values for properties in this area. We do not anticipate adjacent properties to be adversely affected. Once again, barring objections raised during the public hearing, we believe this criterion was met. The final one, number 3, the proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district, land use is authorized therein, and the town's comp plan. Again, we agree with the petitioner. We believe the proposed use is consistent with the character of the district, and with an approval of the special exception, it's an authorized use in ag. There are several existing homes in the area. Ag zoning also allows for residential development and recommends cluster of rural residential lots, which is what's being achieved through this proposal. The comprehensive plan does recommend smaller lot, single-family residential development. Again, that's what's being provided with this project. Comprehensive plan does say that development in this area should only occur with public water and public sewer. However, we believe this is intended for large-scale, high-density subdivisions rather than one single-family home. The petitioner will have access to public sewer, will utilize an existing well on site for water. For these reasons, we believe the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan recommendation. We believe this criteria was met. Because the petitioner met all 3 criteria, staff has a favorable recommendation for this request. We did attach a condition, the following conditions of approval. The proposal shall comply with all development standards of the town unless otherwise approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals through the granting of variances. So if you're inclined to conditionally approve this request, we ask that you attach that as a condition of approval. Happy to answer any questions you have related to the staff report or otherwise. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to you.
Questions from the board for Jonathan?
I'm sorry, what was current zoning on this property? Did you say ag?
It is, so this is going to be a unique site. I'll pull it up here on my map. It's probably the easiest way to take a look at it. And if you could switch the screen to my computer so that we can see the map. And of course that has to be on. Let me turn off this overlay real quick. If you zoom in and look at the site, you'll notice 2 things. One, here's the parcel that was presented in 2024. The petitioner has since purchased this parcel. So there's language in our zoning ordinance that essentially states if 2 adjoining parcels are under the same ownership, they can be viewed as one continuous parcel, right? So what you have in this case is exactly that, where we are, as staff, we're viewing this and the site plan reflects this. This will be reflected as one parcel. So to get to your question, what is this zoned? The land where the house is being developed is zoned ag, but you'll notice that there is a slight sliver at the back of the second parcel that's zoned R2.
Okay. I mean, we got a little cattywampus down through that area there.
Yeah.
So.
Does anyone have any other questions for staff? No? Does the petitioner want to speak? If you could please state your name and address.
Yes, good evening. Suzanne Baker, I'm a land planner at Denton's at 10 West Market Street in Indianapolis. I'm here this evening representing SW Concessions and Shane Wagner. Unfortunately, Shane couldn't be here in person, but is available virtually. And I also have my colleague here, Amy Nooning, to answer any questions you may have. Just one quick housekeeping item. I know Jonathan and I had some back and forth closer to this hearing and notified us of an additional variance request. Obviously, that needs noticed. We provided the required 14-day notice for the mailings and the sign posting, but this last variance missed the 14-day filing for the newspaper by 1 day. So it was 13 days. This still meets the 10-day statutory requirement. So I would just ask, and I think staff is supportive of a waiver of your rules and procedure for that.
Just to add to that, it does not need to occur for the special exception, which the special exception is what we're discussing at this point. When we transition to 08, which is the development standard variances, if you approve the special exception prior to starting the discussion for the development standard variances, you all need to decide whether or not to allow this to move forward. And if you want it to move forward, we have to suspend the rules because our rules require 14-day public noticing. And she is spot on in that as we got into reviewing this project, staff was late in identifying this issue, and that tardiness on our part translated into them not being able to provide proper noticing and meet our deadline. So if y'all are inclined to move forward on the special exception, I would ask that you do suspend the rules and allow 08 to at least be heard and discussed, okay?
Thank you. And just to clarify, I know Jonathan just presented the special exception, but I'm going to combine and address both the special exception and the variances, just to be courteous of your time here. Thanks to Jonathan, who gave a thorough presentation, and we appreciate staff's favorable recommendation. As Jonathan mentioned, the site is split into 2 zoning classifications, both agriculture and R1. We need a special exception to permit the single-family home in the agriculture district. Additionally, we need setback variances, a variance to permit a dwelling within 140 feet of another dwelling in an ag district, and then lastly, a variance to permit the use of a private well on a lot under 1 acre. I would like to briefly show some slides here. So this is just to give kind of a historical context with Jonathan touched upon with the previous BZA approval. I will say the previous petitions approved and what is before you today, the same intention is to construct a single-family home, a modest single-family home for Shane's mother, who Shane lives just across the street on the west side. Back in September 2024, Matt Price represented these petitions that was before the BZA for a special exception for a dwelling, as well as the setback variances. As noted on this plan that you can see here, the previous petition was just associated with Lot 2 of the Royalton subdivision. This is the site plan that was submitted with the previous approval in 2024. You can see the layout of the lot and the setbacks. So fast forward to today and what is being presented to you, a couple events have occurred since the 2024 BZA meeting. First, in April 2025, Shane purchased the adjacent parcel to the north, which now both parcels are under the same ownership, which brings the overall lot size to 0.22 acres. As mentioned before, Shane owns parcels to the west of the site as well as across the alley to the south. The second, go here. The petitioner now proposes the home to be 1-story when it was previously 2-story, which obviously changes some of the setbacks that were granted in the previous petition. Shane also provided this plot plan, which was done by a surveyor, which provides a better layout, recognized layout for when we get to permitting. And then lastly, Shane met with Citizens, which is the area provider of water utilities in the immediate area. And he was explained that the closest connection point was over 300 feet away from his site and would require several easements through private properties. So given the information provided, we believe the petitioner has provided an appropriate use of a single-family dwelling at this location. Also, the constraints of the established lots in the historic plat of Royalton, which was legally platted and recorded many years ago, likely with the intention for this area to be developed to residential. The way that the subdivision is platted, without the variances from the setback requirements, we believe it would be impossible to build a residence on either of these lots. The proposed home would be similar to other homes in the area with similar setbacks, and would overall just fit the surrounding area. And with these variances, if they were approved, would be a good use of infill development. The petitioner has found an appropriate location for the well on the site, which you can see on the plot plan. That may move around slightly, but generally this is the location of the well. Obviously, if the BZA grants the variances, we will have to meet all the requirements and permits with the Boone County Health Department for the well. It would be burdensome, in our opinion, for the petitioner to provide a water line just for a single-family residence over 300 feet away, and establishing the necessary easements from the property owners, which is the acquisition's probably out of the control of the petitioner himself. So with our submitted narrative and findings of fact, we would like to incorporate into our presentation. We respectfully request your approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Does the home have a garage? Or are they using the alley entrance for parking?
I believe, we can confirm if we can get Shane online, but I believe the garage is, the driveway's here.
I guess
And I
that's my
think
next
there-
question, was the driveway,
Yeah.
which way it came out.
Yeah, so I believe there's a 1 or 2 car garage on that front.
All right.
I would take them, you have to do the special exception first.
Just for the board, let's focus on the special exception first, and then we'll move on to the second one.
Well, so if you have any questions on either of them, you can ask them now. Then
Yeah, we'll go one by one.
see if anybody is here to object to
Yeah, yeah.
to either of them.
Okay. My biggest question was going to be from the well standpoint, why they decided to go with a well instead of going, I would thought that it would have been closer than 300 feet, but that makes sense. I know how lengthy that process can be with citizens, and sad to say that's probably easier to do a well. But,
I mean, honestly, they're probably closer to Whitestown,
Yeah.
but that's not in this site, which is a very unique area, is unable to connect to the Whitestown water. But from what I understand, they're able to connect to their sewer.
I think this is pretty straightforward, and I'm favorable of this. Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
No, I don't have any questions on the special exception for the home in the ag district. Do we need to take public comment on that?
Is there anyone online or anyone in the audience? Okay.
I will just make one more clarification. Shane did mention that there is a garage, but they're not using the alley. There is a vacant, or an active alley south of the property. It's just, it's undeveloped.
Shane is pulled up. He can unmute if he needs to add any other comments as well. I guess I can share what I saw on the first site plan, which this went through a few revisions from the time it was submitted. The first site plan actually identified the alleyway as to be vacated.
That was
So,
going to be the next question.
the alleyway will at some point be,
Would it say
according
town
to,
council will
according to what I
vacate that?
received the first go-around, it will be vacated. However, it's currently not. And so we wanted the site plan to reflect actual realities on the ground today, not futuristic options, which is why it's not reflected on the site plan.
Ready to make a motion?
Sure. I move that docket 2026-14-SC special exemption to allow the establishment of a single-family dwelling at 7885 Royal Avenue B, conditionally approved as presented and described based on the findings and staff report, staff recommendations, submitted findings of facts, and the following condition of approval. The proposal shall comply with all development standards of the town unless otherwise approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals through a granting of a variance.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. We'll start with Mr. Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Mr. Josh Martin,
Aye.
Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Amanda Miller.
Aye.
All right. Motion to conditionally approve passes by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, now we'll move on to their next 2026 -08 DSV.
I will do my best to quickly summarize our staff report. You will notice on the front page, we got 3 bullet points that does a good job of summarizing the request. Number 1, reduce the front and side yard setback requirements. Number 2, allow the use of a private well in a parcel that's less than 1 acre. Number 3, allow minimum spacing between dwellings to be less than 140 feet in the ag district. Skipping to the development standards, to save time, you'll see the standards that we are requesting variances for. You'll see those found in section 194082, table 3, which provides development standards specific to residential uses in single-family homes. To read in, which I think I need to at least read in staff's opinion or positioning to the findings, and I will try to be quick. Variance 1, to reduce the north front yard setback from 70 feet to 34 feet. We believe criteria number 1 was met. We agree with the petitioner. According to GIS measurements at 34 feet from center line, the proposed house would have a larger front yard setback than other dwellings in this block. This is 34 feet compared to 18 feet as an example for a residence on lot 4 and 30 feet for a residence on lot 5. Additionally, the project will require approval of a residential building permit that ensures the structure complies with applicable building and fire codes. Again, public noticing was completed. At the time of this writing, we received no complaints or concerns from the public regarding this request. Again, we believe criteria number 1 was met. Criteria number 2, the use or value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. We also agree on this criterion. The property is currently undeveloped, but many of the surrounding properties in this area have already been improved with single-family homes. If the residence is granted, the petitioner's intent is to construct a single-family residence. We don't believe this is going to adversely impact adjoining properties. Surrounding properties, again, were notified. We did not receive any concerns, so barring objections raised during tonight's hearing, we believe this criterion was met. Strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship in the use of the property. Item number 3, we agree that unnecessary hardship exists in the use of this property. In this case, this is a platted lot established prior to our current zoning ordinance, intended for residential development. As shown in the GIS photo, this lot cannot be developed if the project is required to adhere to setback requirements in the zoning ordinance. A north front yard setback of 70 feet from center line, combined with a 40-foot side yard setback to the south, leaves no room for a residence that meets the minimum width requirement and minimum ground floor area for rural zoning districts. So again, just to reiterate, reducing the front yard setback from 70 feet of center line to 34 feet, staff is supportive of that request. Item number 2, reduce the front yard setback from 70 feet to 30 feet along the west property line. Again, staff supports this request for many of the same reasons as previously stated. Item number 1, we do not believe this request will be injurious to public health and safety. Again, GIS measurements show that this house would have the same front yard setback as other dwellings on the property. Public noticing was completed. We received no complaints. And the petitioner is going to be required to receive approval of a building permit, which will ensure it complies with applicable building and fire codes. For these reasons, we believe that criterion was met. Item 2, the use or value of the adjacent area to this property included in the variance will not be affected in any substantially adverse manner. Again, we believe this criterion was met for many of the previously stated reasons. They are building a single-family home, which is similar to many parcels already developed with single-family homes in the area. We don't believe this is going to adversely impact those sites. Again, notice was completed. We received no concerns or complaints for the request. Unless something is raised during tonight's public hearing, we believe this criterion was met. Again, item number 3, when it comes to unnecessary hardship, we believe that exists for this case. This is a platted lot, again, established prior to our zoning ordinance. The parcel is only 100 feet deep and cannot be developed if the petitioner is required to adhere to setback requirements. The front yard setback of 70 feet from center line, again, combined with a 40-foot side yard setback to the east, only leaves 15 feet of buildable area outside of setback requirements. Given the size of the platted parcel, this development cannot meet setback requirements while also meeting the 1,200 square foot minimum ground floor area for primary residences and the minimum width of a primary residence of 18 feet. This is not a condition created by the petitioner. Rather, the need for this variance is due to the town incorporating a platted parcel that was incompatible with development standards in our zoning ordinance. We believe, for these reasons, criterion number 3 was met. And again, summarizing variance request number 1 and variance request number 2, we support. Again, we support variance request number 3, which is to reduce the east side yard setback from 40 feet to 12 feet. Again, for many of the same reasons. Public noticing was completed. The adjoining neighbors did not express any concerns for the request. The 12-foot side yard setback is greater than existing residences on the block. Again, Lot 4 has a setback of 0. Lot 5 has a side yard setback of 5 feet. The use is similar to adjoining sites. We don't believe they're going to be adversely impacted. Again, public noticing was completed. We did not receive any concerns. We believe criteria 1 and 2 have been addressed. Unnecessary hardship, criteria number 3. Once again, we agree with the petitioner. Again, this is a platted lot. The dimensions do not allow for the petitioner to meet the setback standards while also developing a single-family residence that meets the 1,200 square foot minimum ground floor area as well as the minimum width of 15 feet for the primary residence. This, again, is not a condition created by the petitioner. We support granting this request. Variance number 4, reducing the south side yard setback from 40 feet to 0. Once again, staff supports this request for many of the same reasons. Granting the request will reduce the setback to 0, but the setback only encroaches on a 12-foot wide undeveloped alley, as previously discussed. Petitioner owns the other parcel south of the site and alley, which further minimizes any impact on public health and safety. If the variance is granted, the petitioner is still required to get building permits to ensure they meet applicable building and fire codes. Again, public noticing was completed. We received no concerns. Criteria number 2, again, similar use to those that have already been developed in this area. Public noticing was completed. We don't believe this use is going to impact adjoining properties, and we have not received any concerns from those property owners. For those reasons, we believe criteria 1 and 2 were met. As similar justification for the other approvals or other supporting motions, strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance we believe will result in unnecessary hardship. Again, this is a platted lot. The dimensions do not allow for him to meet both the setback standards and the minimum floor area for development. This condition was not created by the petitioner. Therefore, we support this request. Allowing the use of a private well, which is variance number 5. We support this request. Item number 1, the grant will not be injurious to public health and safety. The petitioner is still required to meet Boone County Health Department permitting requirements for wells. He is also required to receive approval of a residential building permit to ensure his proposed residence complies with building and fire code. Public noticing was completed. We received no feedback from the public. For those reasons, we think item number 1 was addressed. Item number 2, the use or value of the area adjacent to the property will not be affected. We agree with the petitioner. It's undeveloped, but many of the surrounding properties in the area have already been improved. Adjoining properties are not anticipated to be adversely impacted. Surrounding properties were notified, and we received no feedback. Item number 3, application of the zoning ordinance will result in unnecessary hardship in the use of the property. We agree with the petitioner on this criteria. The need for the variance is not self-created, and the subject site cannot yield a reasonable return without granting this variance. This is, once again, a platted lot, one that was approved even though this area did not have access to public water. According to the petitioner, the nearest connection point for public water is over 300 feet away and requires the granting of easements across several private properties, all of which are outside of the petitioner's control. We believe this criterion was met. Variance number 6, staff supports as well for the following reasons. Allow the distance between dwellings in the ag district to be less than 140 feet. Item number 1, the petitioner once again is building on a platted lot that meets lot size requirements and subdivision standards for rural residential zoning districts. Although the property is zoned ag, the area surrounding this site is developed with single-family homes. While the petitioner's proposal does not meet 140 feet dwelling separation requirements, the proposed house will need approval of a building permit to ensure the structure complies with building and fire codes. Public noticing once again was completed. We received no concerns from the public. Item number 2, the use or value of adjacent properties included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. We agree with the petitioner. The property is undeveloped, but again, many of these sites have already been developed with single-family homes. Adjoining properties are not anticipated to be adversely impacted. Surrounding properties, again, were notified. We've received no concerns. Item number 3, strict application of the zoning ordinance will result in unnecessary hardship. Once again, these lots were approved and recorded, and they cannot accommodate separation of 140 feet between single-family homes. While this area is zoned ag, the surrounding site is developed with single-family homes. Given the size of each parcel, the petitioner simply cannot build a home that meets the minimum width, ground floor area requirements, while also staying 140 feet away. For these reasons, we believe this criterion was met. To recap, we're asking for 6 variances. Staff is favorable of all 6 requests. I'm not going to recap the motions, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have related to each specific request.
Jonathan, would you
Madam
like a
Chair?
sip of water?
I've got it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Chairperson, would you entertain a rule or a motion to suspend rules for 2026-08-DSV? I'll make one.
Yeah, please do.
I move that we suspend rules for 2026-08-DSV.
In regards to the mailing notice date.
In the regards to the
Not all
mail-in
rules.
notice of 13 days versus the 14 days, correct, yes.
I would second that.
For a roll call?
Amanda Miller.
Aye.
Katie Glenn.
Aye.
Josh Martin. Aye. Jim Hurst.
Aye.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
All right. Rules have been suspended by a vote of 5-0 to allow for this to be heard. Okay.
I do have a question for staff, maybe a couple. Jonathan, is there a future state on this site where water availability is such that the town would want them to connect to municipal water? I mean, right now, I very reality-oriented, I agree, it's a hardship to go seek easements and go 300 feet to get water. But
Unfortunately, I can't speak to that. Typically, utility access is handled through DPW engineering. We don't have discussions really related to those.
Okay.
And I'm talking with Roger, and he hasn't heard anything either, so unfortunately, I can't give you an update.
You've answered my question. And an appreciation from me, and I should be largely from the town, that I on the rare occasion where staff has been late with something or made some sort of mistake in preparation for these meetings, they own up to it and encourage us to waive rules like we did tonight, which makes it easier for us to do that. So thank you for being clear about how that happens. Generically, Jonathan, would you describe this petition as it's presented tonight, an improvement over what had been done for the smaller lot? With the variances and so forth, you had
I think it incorporates the northern lot. I would not envision, if we were to develop the south lot individually, as it was presented in 2024, I don't see how the northern lot would ever have any improvements on it because of the size of it. So this proposal incorporates both parcels into the development, which I think is a benefit there at the corner, and an improvement from the existing conditions that are there, but that's just my opinion.
That's what I asked for. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is, I think this is a plotted lot. I think it was intended to be like this. I agree with staff on all these points. I'm not envious for anyone who wants to make a motion, but,
Well, I will say this may be the only agriculturally zoned property I know of that has a lot, or I mean an alley on it. That's.
I've just been told we have to take individual motions for each
Of course
of
we
the
do.
6.
Of course we do. Can't just rattle them all off at once, huh? Are you ready for some?
Public comment for this petition?
Yeah.
Is there any public comment or anyone online? Thank you. Does anyone want to take a whack at making a motion?
Well, I'll
For the
just,
first,
I do want to, now that we're in general discussion, you know, this lot was platted before these town zoning exists. And so that is how I, quite frankly, very easily get over the hardship question. And so this is, I agree, Mrs. Miller, that this is an easy one to find the right path on.
share his sentiments.
All right.
I'll split them with you, Jim.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
I'll do the
Popcorn?
odd ones for obvious reasons. Let's see. I move that docket number 2026-08 DSV, a development standard variance to reduce the north front yard setback requirement from 70 feet from center line to 34 feet from center line for property at 7885 Royal Avenue B, approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted finding of fact, substantial compliance with the submitted site plans, and the evidence presented during the public hearing.
Second.
Okay. Amanda Miller,
Aye?
Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Josh Martin,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
I move that docket 2026-08 DSV development standards variance to reduce the west front yard setback requirement from 70 feet from center line to 39 feet from center line for the property at 7885 Royal Avenue B, approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted findings of facts, substantial compliance with the submitted site plan, and evidence presented during the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call?
Okay. Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Josh Martin,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Amanda Miller,
Aye.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
I move that docket number 2026-08 DSV development standards variance to reduce the east side yard setback requirement from 40 feet to 12 feet for property at 7885 Royal Avenue B, approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted finding of fact, substantial compliance with the submitted site plans, and the evidence presented during the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call?
All right, Josh Martin,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Amanda Miller,
Aye.
Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
I move that docket 2026-08-DSV Development Standards Variance to reduce the south side yard setback requirement from 40 feet to 0 for the property at 7885 Royal Avenue B, approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report, staff recommendations, submitted findings of facts, substantial compliance with the submitted site plans, and evidence presented during the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call?
Josh Martin,
Aye.
Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Amanda Miller.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
I move that docket number 2026-08 DSV Development Standards Variance to allow for the use of a private well on property that is less than 1 acre at 7558 Royal Avenue B, approved as presented and described based on the findings of the staff report and staff recommendations, submitted finding of fact, substantial compliance with the submitted site plans, and evidence presented during the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call?
Amanda Miller,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Josh Martin,
Aye.
Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
Last one. I move that 2026-08 DSV Development Standards Variance to allow for the spacing between dwellings in the agricultural district be less than 140 feet from the property at 7558 Royal Avenue B, approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report, staff recommendations, submitted findings of facts, substantial compliance with the submitted site plans, and evidence presented during the public hearing.
Second.
Thanks for switching it up. Roll
All right.
call?
Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Amanda Miller,
Aye.
Josh Martin.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5-0.
I appreciate you too.
Give me one moment to get this paperwork to you.
Take your time. Thank you.
Just as a point, I need these documents returned to me after they are signed so that we can record them, okay? And that's for all petitions. Yeah, all those.
I got them here right for you.
Perfect.
Sorry. No, you're fine.
Okay. I am ready when you are.
Perfect. We're going to move on to docket number 2026-09 DSV. Staff, I'll let you start whenever you're ready.
Yes, ma'am. So this petition has history in that it was not long ago, it was actually later last year, sometime in November or December, I can't remember, but 2025-35, this petitioner and property owner requested a variance to exceed lot coverage in the village, the RV district. And at that point in time, the request was granted to allow that project to move forward. Unfortunately, during that review process, there was conflicting site plans that were submitted as part of the application. One application showed just an addition, the other showed an addition plus a deck. And through correspondence with the petitioner, it was determined that we were not considering the deck as part of the first proposal. It turns out that decision was not what the petitioner wanted, but that's what was made. And so the petitioner submitted building permits, which included the deck, only to find out that the first approval that was granted in 2025 did not include that deck proposal. So here we are, same address, which is 190 North Maple Street, same project, just an extension of that project. You will see on the site plan that is included on page 4 of the staff report, you will see where the addition has already been granted approval, and the highlighted area is the proposed deck, which is measurements of 10 by 9. And if that is approved, lot coverage for this site will increase from 41.1%, which was what was approved in 2025, up to 42.6%, which is what lot coverage will be once you calculate the additional 90 square feet for this proposed deck. Getting to the staff findings that we put together for this request, just to read that in for the record, variance 1, which is to increase lot coverage to 42.6% for the construction of a 90 square foot deck. Item number 1, the grant will not be injurious to public health and safety. Staff, we disagree with the petitioner on this criterion. The project further increases the amount of impervious surface on the property, a property that is already covered with 41.1% impervious surfaces. Further increasing the amount of impervious surface area exacerbates an existing drainage problem in the village. For this reason, we believe the criterion was not met. Item 2, the use or value of the adjacent properties included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. We agree with the petitioner on this criterion. If approved, the addition would add value to the current home. Adjoining properties are not anticipated to be adversely affected. The proposed use, or the proposal would not change the use of the property, nor does it infringe on the ability of the surrounding properties to continue their current use as single-family residential dwellings. Again, neighbors are notified of these requests, and as of this writing, no one has expressed any concerns to staff regarding the requested variance. For these reasons, we believe this criterion was met. Item number 3, strict application of the zoning ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship in the use of the property. Staff disagrees with the petitioner on this criterion. In this case, we believe the subject property yields a reasonable return, supporting a 2,500 square foot residence and an additional 1,500 square foot developed with existing accessory structures. This site has already received one variance that allows them to increase lot coverage to 41%. As staff, we cannot identify anything unique about this site that would warrant an additional increase in lot coverage. We believe this is also a self-created condition, one derived from the owner's desire for additional outdoor space. Simply wanting outdoor space is not enough to justify the grant of a variance. For these reasons, staff believes this criterion was not met. So recapping, items 1 and 3, staff believe were not addressed. And for those reasons, we do not support granting this request. There is a sample motion provided on the last page of the staff report. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for staff?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Does the petitioner want to speak?
Carl Bowling with Heartland Group Building Design out of Carmel, Indiana, 600 East Carmel Drive. I apologize to you all for having us here again. Clearly a misunderstanding of my understanding of your rules in Zionsville, Indiana, as far as zoning stuff goes. Indianapolis the way your permit application reads is 30 inches or under, or 30 inches or above. Same way Indianapolis read, 30 inches below in Indianapolis, you don't need a permit, or in Carmel, so it's a little different there. But that was a misunderstanding. But when I built the room and I framed the deck, I wasn't trying to slide nothing in, because we framed the deck up and then called in for a rough-in inspection. 2 days later is when I found out that it wasn't in the permit process, which I was in understanding it was. So, but as far as the planning calling it an impervious structure, it's a Trex deck system with a 5/16 gap in between the deck boards, which is, on their website, that's a pervious structure. TimberTech, same kind of deck system, they count as a pervious structure. It does drain water between the boards. And what he's wanting to do, if the deck don't go through, is he wants me to pour a sidewalk from that door back to his covered space in the garage, for a grill area. He wants a grill, and that's not a hardship, and I'd explain that to him. But we have to have some kind of step coming down off that doorway there. And I mean, that's going to take up about 18 square feet right there, then a 3.5-foot walk for 22 feet. I'm going to end up with about 94 foot. Of that will be an impervious, as far as the sidewalk goes. But it was clearly a misunderstanding, or we wouldn't be here. So that's about all I got to say about it.
Yep.
Yep.
I saw a proposed, it says obviously proposed deck, but in one of these pictures, did I see the actual deck, or am I looking at something different?
The deck was already framed when they came out for the inspection, for my
Okay.
rough-in inspection. And I found out 2 days later, another inspector, the inspector came out, didn't say nothing.
Oh,
And then
so it's finished, the deck's built.
Yeah, the deck's built. We didn't underpin it, because I wanted to show.
Got it.
But I want you guys to understand, from the first variance, he took out a 820 square foot brick paver patio, which was just full of sediment, stuff that wasn't draining water, and we did take all that up. And then what we have added, as far as I think was impervious space, was the 135 foot all seasons room. And but with that and the other one, we're talking 235 square feet with the deck and the room, versus what we tore out which was a, like I say, 840 square foot structure.
Staff, did you know the deck was already built?
I was not aware that it was already built. Everything that had been presented to me was labeled as proposed.
Got it.
And, no, I guess it's dropping the ball on my part. I never asked the inspector if it was there, then the inspector never told me either that it was there.
When he came and told us we couldn't build it, everything was on there but the railing. I put that on there. It's been 3 months now. I put that on there for safety.
If I remember, the pavers that were removed were to the west of the new addition, or were the pavers where this deck is?
Pardon me?
The pavers that you guys removed after the 2025 hearing, where were they located at?
They started at the street out there on Maple.
Okay.
And then they ran all the way back to where you see that fire pit in that picture there. I think you can see the corner of that fire pit right there. They ran just past that. They came all the way around about 5 feet on, would be the east or the west side of that fire pit right there.
So they were underneath where the deck is
They was underneath that
currently.
deck.
Okay.
But they ran from the width of the property line from there all the way to the front sidewalk. It was like 840 square feet is what it was. And it was puddling water. It was, and then since then, we've also, that section there, the roof line there above the deck, we've put gutter on that since then, a wraparound gutter all the way around that room, and ran 2 downspouts to the back, just to keep them water off that side right there. So, which would be the second picture, the picture in the middle there. So.
Where do those gutters lead to? Is it directed towards a street, or is it a downward slope, or where, I guess where's?
It spills off, the one, if Okay, that picture right there? See that little one-story,
Oh, yeah.
the original house there?
Uh-huh.
It's open rafters. We put gutter all the way around that room and put the 2 downspouts in the rear of the building. So definitely staying on the property.
Ringing bells for everyone?
It didn't at first, but I remember it now.
I remember this one.
Yeah, you were remote.
I was. I had COVID and was blowing my nose every 30 seconds, so.
This is one that I actually voted against, and I understand why my fellow board members voted for it originally, because of those pavers being there for so long and probably not pervious anyways.
You are capturing what was my decision-making process is we were reducing the amount of pervious property. Impervious.
Impervious.
Ground, but now they've built a deck over some of it. I think I've got an issue with it.
The whole point in removing the impervious was to decrease lot coverage and to allow more water to go through. And I still stand by my decision. At that time, those pavers were, if they're old pavers, you're not getting water through them. You're not. But to put a deck back over it, it's kind of self-defeating, unfortunately.
Other questions or comments for?
Just to go back to understand what happened. So when the pavers were removed kind of as a compromise for building the Four Seasons room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you asked for this, for that, and then they put a deck over the,
Over where the pavers were removed, correct.
okay.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for the petitioner? No?
Not right now,
Okay.
I don't, no.
Is there anybody online or in the audience that has? Okay.
Can I ask planning a question? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Will I need to come back here for a sidewalk in the backyard?
I would highly encourage you to show us what you're wanting to do.
Right,
Draw it out and show us.
right.
If it is a sidewalk, meaning it's got a couple of steps and then it's 3 foot wide,
3.5 foot wide, yeah.
that's one thing. If you're building a space that will accompany a grill,
No,
large enough for
the
a
grill's
grill?
gonna be, he's got a covered porch on his garage, the detached garage. So if he can't grill there, he's gonna wanna get,
let me,
To the-
I
to
don't
that
want to answer
covered
your
porch.
question right
Is that-
now.
yeah.
What I would encourage you to do is after the meeting, regardless of how this turns out,
Right.
follow up with me and I can partner with, I'm not sure what inspector did your inspection, but I will partner with them and we will get you an answer once we see
I just-
what
yeah, I
what
just-
you're proposing.
I just didn't want another misunderstanding. 'Cause
Oh,
I've
yeah,
asked-
we'll make
I've asked
sure-
zoning and they said I
Now that
didn't
I'm
need a
aware
permit,
of it,
so-
we'll make sure that we
Right.
stay on top of it
got
and we'll walk you through the process so there are no misunderstandings.
I got you. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Well, I don't have any other comments. My opinion still stands from the first time we voted on this. It sounds like we might have a direction. Does anyone have a
Yeah,
different of opinion?
I mean, I'll still stick with, we're very sensitive on lot coverage in the village, and it's for very obvious reasons. I've said before, you live here long enough, you see Lions Park completely underwater and half the village completely underwater. The more impervious surfaces we have in the village, the better that situation is. It's unfortunate. I thought it was a creative way of removing the pavers to accomplish something last time, but we went right back over it with the deck, and while I understand you thought it was pervious, in Zionsville it's not, and it's unfortunate.
Okay, does someone want to take a shot at a motion?
Yeah, I will. I move that docket 2026-09-GSV Development Standards Variance to increase lot coverage to 42.6 for the construction of a 90-square-foot deck at 190 North Maple Street B, denied as presented and described.
Second.
Roll call?
Josh Martin? Aye. Katie Glenn?
Aye.
Amanda Miller?
Aye.
Josh Fedor?
Aye.
Jim Hurst?
Aye.
Motion to deny is approved, 5-0.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
You. Let us know when you're ready, Jonathan.
Yes, ma'am. I am ready.
Okay. Jonathan, you ready to move on to the next
ma'am.
one?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
We'll move on to docket 202610 SE, and I will let staff review the report.
So this is, so 2026-10 is a special exception, and it's also occupied by a companion petition, which is 2026-11. 10 is the special exception to allow for the use of single-family and ag. 11 is a required variance of development standards if the special exception is granted. Addressing the special exception first, and then we can discuss the variance if the special exception is granted, okay? This is a 7.42 acre parcel. I believe the Moores are here, and we'll be able to speak to specifics related to the project as well. You will see this site is, you'll see the boundaries of the site on page 2 of the staff report. The petitioner is requesting to develop one single-family residence. The parents live on the parcel to the north, and I believe the daughter is going to build one single-family home on the subject site if the special exception and variances are both approved. You'll note this falls under the regulations found in 194082, which is the authorized uses and requirements table. And just to reiterate what we're discussing, you'll note on page 3 of the staff report where single-family residential use is not permitted by right in ag, so a special exception is how you move forward. A copy of the petitioner's findings are attached to the agenda as Exhibit 5. To read staff's findings into the record, there are 3 findings we have to answer as part of this special exception. The first being the proposed use will not be injurious to public health, safety, moral standards, convenience, or Zionsville general welfare. Staff, we agree with the petitioner on this criterion. Granting the request will not be injurious. Single-family use is common in this area. The parcel is large enough to allow for water and septic. The petitioner is required to receive approval of an improvement location permit, which is a building permit, prior to construction, which ensures the residents will meet building and fire codes. Public noticing was completed. As staff, we did not receive any complaints from the public regarding this request. Barring objections being raised during the hearing tonight, we believe this criterion was met. Item number 2, the proposed use will not injure or adversely affect the adjacent area or property values therein. As staff, we agree with the petitioner as well for criterion number 2. The use of this property would be single-family residential, which is the same as several other properties in the area. Some of the properties surrounding the site are undeveloped and appear to be used for farming purposes. However, single-family residential use is a low-intensity use and does not impede on their ability to continue farming those parcels. Approving this use results in one parcel that can be developed with single-family residential structures, or with a single-family residential structure. We believe developing this parcel adds value to this property and therefore increases overall property values in the area. For this reason, staff believes this criterion was met. Item number 3, the proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district, land use is authorized therein, and the town's comp plan. As staff, we agree once again with the petitioner. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district, land uses, and the town's comprehensive plan. This area currently has several single-family residential homes constructed along East 400 South. Granting this request would mean one new single-family dwelling is developed in this area, in addition to the 6 that are already there. As staff, we believe this request aligns with the character of the district. With the approval of a special exception, single-family residential use is a permitted use in the ag zoning district. The comprehensive plan recommends production agriculture for this area with the intent of conserving the rural character of the area while protecting farming operations. The petitioner's proposal adds to the rural character of this area, does not impact farming operations. For these reasons, staff believes the proposal is aligned with the intent of the comprehensive plan. Again, recapping, we believe this one met all 3 necessary criteria, so staff supports a favorable result on this requested entitlement. There is a sample motion on the last page of the staff report. I will wait until the special exception is approved prior to going into discussion on the development standard variance. So if you have any questions on the special exception, I'm happy to answer them.
Just to present on the special exception, and then see if there's any public hearing on that, and then go to deliberation on this one, and then we'll jump into the development standards.
Do you have any questions for Jonathan? Does the petitioner want to come up and speak? If you could just state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Julie Moore, and my husband over there, Bill. We own the lot, the subject lot. And we've lived there since '92, and we've been very involved in the community. We've raised our kids there. So tonight we're asking for your support so that my daughter and her husband over there can build approximately a 2,800 square foot farmhouse style, 2-story with a two-car garage. So, and it's going to be on the 7.42 acre lot, directly in front of our home. And our goal, obviously, is to allow for the family roots to stay in the community for generations. So we are asking for 2. I'm going to speak to both in my little presentation because we need a special exception so we can build a single-family home in the ag district, and then we also need the variance because it is a landlocked property that would need does not have road frontage, so it would need to reduce the requirement to 0. We did submit a final site plan, so what you have in the attachments is a final plan from their builder, so there would be no changes to that. We did provide also a draft of the building plan. That has yet to be final approval. And then we also submitted a copy of an access easement agreement that will be filed with the transfer deed, assuming that all this gets approved. Obviously, we believe that, and it sounds like Jonathan does as well, that the petition, that we've satisfied all the legal requirements for the approval. And we believe that this solves a historic configuration hardship with the landlock and respects the physical limits of the land and allows the children to build their forever home. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Jonathan will go through the DSV findings of fact. So hopefully that provides you enough of background.
Thank you. We'll focus on the special exception, then we'll move on to the next one, just like we did prior.
Are we ready for questions?
Yes, sorry, please.
And I'm not always quick on picking everything up in a staff report, so if it's explicitly stated in the staff report, forgive me, but is this already a separate parcel
It is.
from your home?
It
and it's-
is.
And
We
it's been
we
that way?
purchased it a year after. We purchased our lot, which is the flagship lot, and then.
Okay, so it
was
forgive me,
landlocked.
it wasn't a recent subdivision of a lot?
No, this is back in '93 that we made the purchase, and it was subdivided by the previous owner when we bought it, and so it was landlocked when we bought it.
And this may be a joint conversation for staff too, but on these kind of flagship properties, especially that long of a run, other times staff has taken different positions. I understand why they maybe found this one is unique. But have there been discussions on fire access, emergency vehicle access?
I left out a very important piece. So for the past 34 years, our driveway, which has been utilized to access this subject lot. And it's 100-foot wide frontage and has a very well-established driveway that goes back there, and there's nothing, it has operated very safely for 34 years as a driveway, and we are filing the easement with the transfer of the property.
And
So
you
that
guys,
will
you guys
solve-
own, your parcel owns to.
Owns the adjacent, the land that would be used
Yeah,
as
owns the
easement.
driveway, if you will.
And it's
Okay.
already well-established.
Okay, thank you for that. Jonathan, did staff or the town have any concerns about emergency vehicle access?
If they did, they didn't share them with me. I'm not aware. Have you gone through the addressing? I think we've had these
I
discussions.
talked to her, but we're
Yeah.
going to do it after the approval?
Fire is part of the approval of the address. If they see an issue, they're ultimately the end factor when it comes to approving the addressing. They have seen this. Chrissy, I believe, you've spoke to them. There has not been any shared concerns expressed to me, so I'm assuming they're moving forward with that. They're waiting, I believe, my last conversation I had with Chrissy, they're waiting on the approvals from tonight's meeting before issuing you the official address.
Correct.
And based off the fact that they're ready to issue that address, I assume they have no concerns. I don't know if that answers your question directly, but.
Well, I'm not meaning to single out this petitioner, I'm kind of just talking about past process. There have been variances that came before us where that was part of the discussion. And Josh, can you help me out with any of this? You've been banging your head around this stuff at all. Am I mixing my metaphors here?
No, I think when you're talking about the flag lots, you're gonna have some long driveways going back to them and so forth, but I think so long as they're not tree lined or anything, I don't think it's ever a problem with fire access necessarily. But
It's more, from my standpoint now, a little bit of a surprise it wasn't more deliberately contemplated by the town in this process.
I don't know if this is necessarily relevant, but of course, when we purchased the land and we're in the newly annexed area, we previously were under the municipal of Lebanon. And the driveway is very open. There are a few trees about midway down on one side only. I don't know if any of that's.
I think you were under the jurisdiction of Boone County, not the city of Lebanon.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, I'm done with my questions, and I really don't have any objection to the granting of the special exception. I just had questions to help me get there, but thank you.
Yeah, I know a few parcels like this, and I always wondered how it got there. about this from a planning standpoint. But, yeah, I have no issues with the special exception. How wonderful. Does anyone have any questions, any additional questions? Is there anybody online or anyone in the audience? Okay. Is everyone good about making a motion? Does someone want to?
I move that docket 2026-10-SE special exception to provide for single-family resident use in the general agricultural zoning district be approved as presented and described based on the findings in the staff report and staff recommendations, submitting findings of fact and evidence presented during the hearing.
Second? I'll second. Roll call?
I just got one question. There was a conditional approval. Do we want to add that to the motion? It stated the petitioner should record the private driveway easement presented in their proposal with the Boone County Recorder's Office before applying for future building permits. A copy of the recorded driveway easement shall be provided as a supplemental document for future building permit submittals. I'm assuming that's something, Jonathan, you guys, staff had added.
My staff report does not show that in the sample motion.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure.
Then disregard that, I'm sorry.
But I guess to address that concern is twofold.
I'm on the wrong one, I'm sorry.
I was about to say, I think
I'm
that's
sorry, I
part
called
of
the
the
wrong
next
one. My bad.
discussion.
Yeah. Next one.
Yeah,
No, but-
disregard.
So
Good-
we'll
good catch,
pause
Josh.
that topic until after this one.
This next one.
Disregard,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I did.
Oh, you did, sorry.
Yeah, it
I was
has
like,
a
who said
second.
this? Sorry. Okay.
I'm going to take roll call now, starting with Amanda Miller.
Aye.
Jim Hurst.
Aye.
Josh Martin.
Aye.
Katie Glenn.
Aye.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
All right. Motion to approve passes by a vote of 5-0.
So now we'll move on to 202-611 DSV.
Okay, so this is specific to, well, circling back, now that the use has been approved, this variance is to address a development standard which is present on Table 3 in Section 194082. That table has a development requirement of road frontage, and that road frontage being 45 feet in all districts. If you look at the map presented and provided in the staff report, you'll notice that this parcel does not have direct access to road frontage. However, this is a very, I don't want to use the word common, but it's not unheard of for properties out in our rural areas to have this issue, and it's reoccurring since I've been here. And so what that led to was a director's determination issued by Mike Dell, which essentially laid out the parameters in which access easements could replace or stand and act as the road frontage requirement. And those, if you'll switch to my screen, if IT can switch to my screen, you can see I'll show the director's determination on the board. But essentially, there's 4 criteria that an access easement, a private access easement, has to meet in order for it to qualify as road frontage. The one that is problematic in her case is there are restrictions or limitations placed on the use of the access easement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the easement that you are going to record is specifically for your parcel and the subject site use, right? And the way the director's determination reads, and I apologize that it's not on the screen, the way the director's determination reads is that the access easement has to be open and accessible to the general public, meaning it cannot be, the use of that access easement cannot be restricted. And so because she is proposing a recorded easement that is restricted or limited to only her property and her daughter's parcel, she does not have the ability to count the access easement as road frontage under the director's determination. Therefore, she has no road frontage, okay? And so the variance that we are requesting tonight is to eliminate that road frontage requirement. Essentially, you're going to be approving, if you approve this variance request, the variance is to reduce road frontage from 45 feet to 0. Understanding, and this is where the condition of approval comes into play, if you grant this access easement, or if you grant this variance, we are requesting that she record her access easement. If the variance is denied, that means two things. Either one, the site cannot be developed because it does not have road frontage, or the petitioner has to record an access easement that is not limited or restricted in any manner, meaning she cannot restrict its use to only her property and her daughter's property. It would have to be open and available to the general public, open and available to utility use, that type of thing. And so that will be the outcome. You approve it. We're asking that you attach a condition of approval that if you approve it reducing the road frontage to 0, we ask that you condition that and require the easement that you spoke about be recorded. And the petitioner has agreed to that condition because she's already drafted up that easement. If you deny it, then we're back to square one where the parcel can't be developed in its current state, or the petitioner has to record an easement with no limitations, no restrictions as far as access. I'm going to read from staff's point of view our findings for the record. We, as staff, we support the request. There's 3 findings that we have to address as part of the grant of a development standard variance. The first being, the grant will not be injurious to public health and safety. We agree with the petitioner on this criteria. The petitioner intends to utilize the parcel to build one single-family residence. This is a common use in the area. The parcel, again, is large enough for water and septic. They're required to receive approval of a building permit, which ensures the residence complies with building and fire codes. Again, public noticing was completed, and we did not receive any concerns from the public regarding this request. Barring objections being raised tonight, we believe this criterion was met. Item number 2, the use or value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Number 2, we agree with the petitioner. If approved, the use of this property will be single-family residential. Again, same as the other surrounding properties. Some of the properties surrounding this site appear to be used for farming purposes, but again, this is a low-impact, low-intensity use and would not impede on their ability to continue their farming operations. Approval of this use results in one parcel that can ultimately be developed with a single-family residential structure. We believe developing this parcel adds value to this area and will increase the other values of the adjoining properties. For this reason, we believe this criterion was met. Number 3, strict application of the zoning ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship in the use of the property. We agree with the petitioner on this criteria. As the petitioner previously explained, this parcel was created under the jurisdiction of a different municipality. This issue was inherited when they purchased the site in 1993. The site is landlocked and cannot provide 45 feet of road frontage in its current state, which is why the petitioner is requesting to use a private driveway easement. Without the requested variance, the subject site cannot be developed in its current configuration. Based on that analysis, staff believes this is not a self-created situation, and the owner is facing an actual hardship in terms of use of the property. For this reason, we believe this criterion was met. Summarizing, we believe all 3 criterion were met. Therefore, we are favorable of the requested variance to reduce road frontage from 45 feet to 0. Sample motion, again, has been provided on page 6, the last page of the staff report, which that sample motion does include a condition of approval if you elect to attach that as part of your motion. Happy to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to you.
So Jonathan, if this is approved, then it would be considered a private drive and only these two parcels will be able to access this.
Yes, ma'am.
If it is not approved, it still has, still has to be some kind of easement, public easement.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, technically, the site does not have to be developed.
Okay.
But
Oh,
if she
it
wants to
prohibits her
develop-
from developing it.
Yeah, so if
it's
you
not
want to
granted. Okay.
build on that site and this variance is denied, the only way to get road frontage to that site is to establish an easement that complies with the written director's determination on an easement counting as road frontage. Is IT back there? Can you share my screen, please? So here's the 4 criteria. I'm going to zoom in on the 4 bullet points because essentially that's what you have to meet for a private access to count as road frontage. And in her situation, there's 2 issues. It's not going to be open to any pedestrian that just wants to come walk down her driveway. It's also not going to be available to the general public. It's not going to act as a public street, essentially. There's going to be restrictions and limitations. And so if the variance is denied, there's 2 outcomes possible. 1, we just don't develop the site. Or 2, if you want to develop the site, you have to record an access easement that complies with those 4 bullet points, which the petitioner does not want to do. She wants to limit the use of her drive to only access to her house and her daughter's house.
Thank you for that. Do my board members have any questions for staff?
Not at this time, no.
Or for the petitioner in that? Did you have any comments that you didn't cover in the first round? There you go. That's helpful. Is there anyone in the audience or online that has any comments or questions? Okay. I'm favorable to grant this, given it's her daughter who'll be occupying that, and that drive up is her property, regardless of whether we grant this tonight or not. She still owns that drive. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I have no objection. I just want to point out that right now the plan is that the family owns it.
Mhm.
Once we grant all this,
Yeah.
it can go, anybody can own it, right? And so
Correct.
that isn't a restriction I would even contemplate adding to it. But one thing I've learned about BZA is you make decisions for what you see right now, and sometimes what comes in the future you didn't think about the right way. This case, I don't have any reservation about it, but.
Sounds like a family dispute for a long time from now. But true, good point.
I just like to point out, this is, I think, the second or third family that we've had in front of us in the last couple of years that are a family members moving closer to mom and dad, and
Oh, it's a
I think it's
thing.
great.
Yeah.
I hope my parents are listening, and him. But I think it's great the families, are trying to be a little bit more nuclear and close to one another, so.
I absolutely agree. Well, I don't have any more questions. If someone's ready to make a motion, sounds like we're aligned.
I made about a third of it already. I move that docket 2026-11-GSV Development Standards variance to reduce the road frontage requirements from 45 feet to 0 for the construction of a single-family residence at 1586 East, 400 South be conditionally approved as presented and described based on the findings of the staff report, staff recommendations, submitted findings of fact, substantial compliance with the submitted site plan, evidence presented during the hearing, and the following condition of approval. The petitioner shall record the private road driveway easement presented in their proposal with the Boone County Recorder's Office before applying for future building permits. A copy of the recorded driveway easement shall be provided as a supplemental document with the future building permits submittals.
A second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Josh Martin,
Aye.
Jim Hurst. Aye. Katie Glenn,
Aye.
Amanda Miller.
Aye.
Conditional approval passes 5-0.
Go buy your mom dinner. Thank you. We have amazing people working really hard for everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Ready?
I'm ready when you
Okay,
are.
perfect. We're going to move forward with 202612 UV. Staff, I'll let you take it away.
All right, I'm gonna start with what me and Todd are addressing here. I believe, I've had a crazy day, but I believe, Todd, you sent this afternoon, correct? Todd sent updated construction drawings for this project. This afternoon, unfortunately, I did not have a chance to get those to you. So the updated plans is what Todd is passing out. I believe, based off what I read in the email, that the revision is its connection to the primary residence and a reduction in the height of the proposed structure. Both of these revisions bring the proposal closer into compliance than what was first submitted. However, staff got this later-ish this afternoon. I have not had a chance to confirm numbers or to look at everything. I'm going off of what I know is the experience of Todd and what he put in his email, okay? I have not had a chance to confirm this information. So, the information that you're going to hear in this staff report was drafted and put together and did not incorporate this information that you see before you, okay? And I'm going to do my best to tailor my staff report as we read to the information that I believe is incorporated in the site plan, okay? So, this is unique. This is a rare occasion where we get a variance of use for section 194019, which is the section in our zoning ordinance that is applicable to legally established, however, non-conforming lots, uses, structures, etc. And what is non-conforming, what is legally established but non-conforming on this site is that there are two primary residences on one parcel. Our zoning ordinance does not allow for parcels in the village to have two primary residences on one parcel. However, both residences were established prior to the adoption of the Zionsville zoning ordinance. So what that means is while it is non-conforming, it is legally established. Therefore, subject to standards in the section that we have stated here, 194019. Specifically, what is occurring is they are enlarging a legally established non-conforming use of land, which is prohibited in this section, okay? If the variance of use is granted, it does not remove this property's classification as non-conforming, right? What it will allow is for the expansion of the non-conforming use to allow this project to then move forward, which the project in question is the construction of a, I believe it's 1,600 square foot, or it was detached garage. Now it's attached garage. And because it is attached, the square footage now is incorporated into the total square footage of the primary residence, rather than if it was detached, where the square footage would count against accessory square footage. Does that make sense? So what you're approving is the ability for the owner to expand on a legally established non-conforming use for the construction of this project, okay? Again, the site, I guess it would be helpful to tell you the site. It's 10 South 6th Street here in Zionsville, in the village. You'll see an aerial photo on page 2. The petitioner's proposal, when I went through this and put it together, was based off of a detached garage totaling 23 feet in height, and the square footage, I believe, was 1,600 square feet. The original proposal was in violation of both the height, max height of an accessory structure, as well as the square footage for accessory uses was exceeding the 50% allowed in the village, right, in the RV district, which was problematic. And I shared this information with Todd and his team, and that information resulted in the revisions. The revisions you received tonight have attached the project to the primary residence, and I believe have, by attaching it, what that does is it eliminates the height issue and it eliminates the square footage issue. But we still have an issue with the expansion of the non-conforming use, okay? Again, you'll see 194052, which is the urban village residential permitted uses. Notice that 2 primary residences is not listed as a permitted use in this site. And I guess to further elaborate on what we define as staff as a primary residence, it's any structure that has a full kitchen, a full bathroom, and a full living space. This site has 2 structures that have all 3 of those elements, therefore it has 2 primary residences. To get to the, I guess again, just to show you on page 4 of the staff report, you'll see the section specific to non-conforming uses, item 1, 2, and 3, which is where it says legally non-conforming uses shall not be enlarged. New structures shall not be erected in connection with legally established non-conforming use of land. Again, granting this use variance will allow for this project to move forward, although it violates that section of text in our zoning ordinance. For a use variance, we have 5 questions that we have to address as part of our findings. Staff wants to read those into the record. We do not support this request based on 4 and 5 of the findings below. Approval, number 1, approval will be injurious to public health and safety, will not be injurious. Approval will not be injurious to public health and safety and general welfare of the community. As staff, we agree with the petitioner on criteria number 1. The general Zionsville community will not be adversely impacted. If granted, the petitioner is required to receive approval of a building permit to ensure the proposal complies with building and fire codes, which are intended to protect public health and safety. Public noticing was completed. We did not receive any concerns or complaints from the public regarding this request. For this reason, and for these reasons, we believe criteria number 1 was met. Criteria number 2, the use or value of the site adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. We agree with the petitioner on this criteria. The primary use of the site is not changing. The location of the proposed garage meets setback standards in the RV district, does not encroach on the residential uses surrounding the site. The petitioner is replacing an older shed with a newer, larger, and in our staff report, we say detached garage, but the new proposal now shows it as attached. The value of the adjacent properties is not anticipated to be adversely impacted. Surrounding neighbors were notified of this request, and again, we would not receive any concerns. Barring objections being raised tonight, we feel like this criterion was met. Item number 3, the need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved. We believe this criterion was met. The property is viewed as legally established, nonconforming. Even if the project, and I think this is important to point out, even if the project meets all applicable development standards, future expansion on this site requires BZA approval, which is the condition specific to this site, creating the need for this variance request. The only way for this property to eliminate its nonconforming status is to do one of two things: either remove one of the legally established residences, or rezone this site to allow rezone this site to a district that allows for 2 primary residences per lot. Again, we believe criterion number 3 was met for those reasons. Item number 4 is where we start to deviate from the petitioner. Item 4, strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. We disagree with the petitioner. We define unnecessary hardship as all relevant factors, when taken together, indicate that the land involved cannot yield reasonable return because of unique circumstances. A claim of unnecessary hardship justifying the grant of a variance cannot be based on self-created conditions. Mere showing of economic loss is not sufficient. In this case, we believe the property yields a reasonable return, more so than what would normally be allowed in this zoning district. The property is yielding a return that others in the village are not normally permitted: 2 primary residences on 1 lot. Additionally, the zoning ordinance allows for the repair and maintenance of the existing structure on site. Rather than operate within those parameters, the petitioner is proposing to enlarge a use that is non-conforming. And again, when this was wrote, we were replacing a 298 square foot shed with a 1,600 square foot detached 2-story garage. I'm not 100% sure if the plans that you have before you are still 1,600 square feet. They are, however, attached, and it is, I believe, still 2-story, correct? This is a significant increase in the accessory square footage from what was previously there. We view the need for this request as being self-created, not resulting from a hardship in the zoning ordinance. And for these reasons, we believe item number 4 was not addressed. Item number 5, approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan. And again, this was wrote prior to receiving these documents. Staff disagrees with the petitioner. The Zionsville comp plan identifies this area as village residential, and quoting, with the intent to promote and maintain the historic core or village neighborhoods within an area of the town of Zionsville. The traditional height, bulk, area, and setback features of these neighborhoods should be maintained, as well as their scale and proportion. That's quoted from the comprehensive plan. The petitioner's original proposal, and I think this one is the same square footage or maybe a little less. The petitioner's original proposal was a height of 23 feet, which did not meet the 22-foot minimum setback limitations. It's now 25 feet. However, it's connected to the primary residence, which means it's not subject to the 22-foot accessory standard for height requirements. However, again, item number 5, we based that off the original submittal. We still believe the comprehensive plan language does not change, which means any project should be geared toward preserving traditional height, traditional bulk, area, setback features of neighborhoods, and maintain the scale and scope and proportion of the village. And in staff's opinion, this project just does not do that. And for these reasons, we disagreed on item number 5. So to recap, item 1, 2, and 3, staff believes were met. Items 4 and 5, we don't believe we met the standard to meet those criterions. For that reason, we do not support granting this request. I provided a sample motion on page 7. And there are also some procedural notes just to look at, may answer some of your questions. That said, happy to answer any questions you have, okay? Otherwise, I'll turn it back to you.
Jonathan, you said you received this significant change in this project this afternoon?
Yes, sir, and I use the word significant. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to even look at it.
I
Yeah.
used it. It's detached to attached. That's significant.
I'm not sure how significant it is. Unfortunately, I've just not had a chance to look through it.
And that's part of my concerns. I'm more than I guess my thing is, if you haven't looked through this, I'm very hesitant. I guess this may need to be continued, in my opinion. But, well, let's proceed with it. I don't like you guys getting stuff handed to you at the last minute and expecting us to vote on it. I have no problem continuing it. I appreciate getting the information, but I don't like something getting thrown at us at the last minute that we have to make a determination on. That's putting us under a real pinch and putting
I would
staff
concur.
under the same pinch.
I tend to agree if Jonathan, I would actually like to hear Jonathan's opinion on that.
I'm sorry, me and Roger were talking, I'm sorry.
Just being given this for the first time, what your opinion is on, waiting to have you review and look over
Well-
this before.
Roger and his awesome abilities, we've been scrambling, looking at things as y'all were talking, and so we're
Perfect.
trying to get to that point. I'm not sure we're going to get to that point. We have some questions that maybe Todd could just answer as opposed to us trying to find out, and it might be helpful if we could just ask Todd
Perfect. Todd,
while he's here.
thank you.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and let him make his presentation, and then if we have questions, we'll
Okay.
ask him, if that's available.
Hello, Todd Rotman, address at 320 West Hawthorne Street. With me tonight is property owner Cortland Jackson. So I can answer those specific questions and kind of give you some background on the project as well. So I was not hired to design the original detached garage, which started this process, but I was hired to fix it. And Jonathan and planning staff have been really great to work with over the last month or so to figure out what variances might be needed and what kind of documentation might be needed in order to present the case and what kind of supporting documents we would have to prepare. Originally, we were told it was going to be a special exception, so we geared the presentation around that. Then it got changed to a variance of use, which I interpreted as you say there's 2 dwellings on the property. You get the variance of use that allows the 2 dwellings on the property. Then the homeowner can do work in perpetuity as long as it meets the zoning requirements. The only thing that wouldn't meet would be the 2 dwellings, which we got a variance of use for. So there was no design by me for a garage because that's not what I thought we needed to do. We just needed to have the homeowner to have the ability to improve his property in the future according to the zoning ordinance other than 2 dwellings. Then I was told that the project is tied to the design of the garage about a week ago, maybe. And so I told Cortland, we got to design a garage really quick. We couldn't get that in time before the staff report went out. Obviously, there's a lot of numbers to crunch. We've got accessory building square feet, you've got to calculate accessory use square feet, you've got to calculate living area, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're not here tonight to approve necessarily a design of a garage. The garage that he submits for building permits has to meet the zoning ordinance, it has to meet building code. So yes, you're seeing a garage that was not presented previously, but it is only there to show you what he is planning to submit and to show you that we do not need other zoning ordinance variances as mentioned in the staff report. And so it's a really quick turnaround for us to try to get a design. So I understand, yes, you don't want things thrown you at the last minute, like somebody's throwing a curveball. We're really just trying to simplify things for you so that in the end, all we're asking for tonight is the variance of use to build a garage that meets all zoning requirements, other than the fact that there are 2 houses on the property that predate the current zoning. So it's actually very simple, and we've tried to simplify it and boil it down to its basics by showing you the garage that he wants to build and how it is in compliance. And so I understand that, yes, staff can't review that and say, yeah, Todd's right, that garage meets everything. But that's what pulling a building permit does, and they tell you, you meet everything, you don't meet everything, and then you gotta go get a variance for it if you don't, which is what they tried to do, which has got us to this point now. And so, yeah.
You have specific questions you wanted to?
Just want to clarify. So for y'all's history on this, this actually started with a building permit submittal, right? So when day one, when this started, we weren't scrambling to design a garage. We had actually submitted for approval to build a garage, right? So there was one that had been designed. Again, I'll take responsibility for it. Just the number of petitions and the time that it took to go through each one, he is correct. It took me a week or two, or maybe a week, I don't even know, but it took a second to get to the in-depth analysis of your building permit paperwork and all that stuff, right? And so when I reviewed what was submitted as part of his building permit application, which is exactly what the building inspector is going to do, I did a courtesy email notating that, hey, you may be getting a use variance to expand this thing, but if we move forward with your building permit application, we're going to be right back here essentially next month asking for development standards to allow for a accessory building to be 23 feet in height and exceed square footage. And so I sent that as a courtesy. I was not anticipating, well, I guess I should have known, Todd, I should have known that you was going to try to fix those issues. I just didn't think that you was going to get it to me today, and that's my fault. So to clarify, you would be willing to commit to submitting or revising your building permit to comply with development standards? Would that be something, I mean, obviously you're going to have to or come back and request variances. I believe the submittal that you have attached would meet those requirements, but if they don't, you would have to revise your proposal to meet the standards.
Absolutely.
And I would suggest that, I would say that we could contemplate the expansion of the nonconforming use to allow for a compliant garage addition without necessarily needing to review what you have, because if you're not committing to building this, then there's no point in reviewing it.
Right, yeah.
Just commit to submitting a building permit where your development complies with all development standards, and understanding that if you make that commitment and you deviate from that, you're going to come right back before the board to ask for that deviation.
Correct, yeah,
Right.
that is absolutely satisfactory, and it's the reason why we put together these plans, was to show that we could do it, because if I couldn't get to the point where we could do that, there was no point in even being here tonight. And if we hadn't have done that, and we just went with the staff report that showed the height variances and the accessory use variances, we wouldn't have gotten approval tonight anyway. So once again, it would have been kind of pointless to be here. So I think we're in complete agreement with your suggested language modification, that there would be no, it would be a zoning ordinance and code compliant structure applied for building permits.
So for the board, a simple way of saying that is if you elect to allow for the expansion, right, approving this request to expand a nonconforming use, a condition of approval being that any expansion of the nonconforming use shall comply with all RV development standards.
Correct.
Okay? And if they submit something that does not comply with the RV development standards, then essentially that voids the approval that would be issued tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
And a lot of times, we know that zoning variances are tied, to a design, and so we have something that can be tied to it, and you guys aren't just looking at what could be,
I would highly suggest not tying approval to this submitted plan if you're not telling me that this is what you're wanting to do exactly. Because if you submit this and then we tie approval to this, and we say you have to do this,
Yeah, it would just depend on what the comfort level is, because Cortland is comfortable with building this. So, if that's something that the board would want a commitment to this design as part of it, with any reasonable modifications, meaning did a window move, a couple feet over or something, because it was in the way of a stair or something.
I'm not in a position to say right now what I would be willing to consider, except to say that I would have issues just saying, yeah, as long as they design something to development standards, they can go do it. Because you can probably do a lot of things to development standards that aren't a garage. Not at all suggesting that's petitioner's goal there, but I think we'd want to anchor it to some sort of design, and how precise we feel we need that design is up for discussion, I guess.
Yeah, and I do believe that the language for approval would state for an attached garage, so there would be no desire to build something different, yeah.
If I may interject some
Please, yeah.
questions that the board may want to inquire. I know it's being described as a garage, which is fine for the first floor, but what is happening on the second floor?
Yeah, home
And-
office and storage.
I'm just throwing these out.
Yeah, it's a large garage, for sure.
That if there's consideration about, and I heard your concern about just approving something, saying you're hesitant to say, yeah, approve it as long as it meets the standards. But you may also want to consider limitations on what could occur on the second floor, such as enough facilities where it would be almost a third residence on the property. I know it's connected to the primary residence, and so they're connected by way of a breezeway.
It's actually interior square footage. It's not a breezeway, it's a
okay.
hallway. We
It's-
didn't want to attach the house, the new garage, directly to the house because it's an 1862 significant structure. And so we've pulled it over, did a connector piece to it, and then that's why we're not full wall attached to it, but it is an interior corridor open to the living space of the house.
Is this a
So
historic?
With that connection, the second floor could be improved with a full kitchen, a full bath, and full bedroom. Could be. And not be considered another home because it is connected. But again, the request is for a use variance. It's up to you to decide if you want to put any limitations on anything.
And just to add another layer of complexity to this, this is the first time you're hearing this, so I'm not expecting an answer from you. But assuming this project, and it looks like it because I did some math, this would meet applicable development standards for a primary residence, right? Lot coverage, building height, square footage, setbacks. Visually, it's meeting all the marks. The only reason he would be here with this proposal is because he currently has 2 primary residences on the site. This proposal appears, and you're agreeing to commit to, building a development that meets all applicable development standards. So even if something in here I'm missing doesn't meet it, you're committing to revising it. And so what that means is, regardless of how this outcome goes tonight, this project could be approved if you were willing to remove the kitchen stove from your second house. So if we get to a point where nothing is working out, the problem you have, the meat and potatoes of this issue, is you have two primary residences on your site. And if you remove the kitchen, done. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there would be considerations, right, that you would have to make, but, you know, there's flexibility in that area. And so what I just want to point out is it's not, the issue is the two homes, right? It's not an issue of development standards at this point. And just going forward, you could build projects that are 100% compliant with all the development standards in the RV, lot coverage, everything. But you're still going to have to come back here every single time, right?
Correct.
And that's the issue. And you eliminate that issue by eliminating the kitchen stove or one of the other elements in one of the houses.
One of the existing.
And one of the existing homes, yeah.
Yep.
And so I don't know if that helps in the decisions that you're going to have to make as far as any concerns of approving a development that doesn't meet development standards, because it appears this one does. But even if I'm overlooking something, you're committing verbally to revising your building permit to comply with development standards. So what that means is essentially we're back to the expansion of the nonconformity. I don't know if that helps y'all or not, but that's.
I think it does. I know this property well. I lived next door to you for many years. My kids were always jealous about your pool. Is it, you own some of the parcels around this property, no?
Correct.
I mean, this is like more of like an estate home, a family home, like, you know.
Correct. He owns the property immediately to the west of
Right.
the tennis courts. And a little fun fact, just so you guys know that, you know, obviously we care about the village. You know, I'm Zionsville Architecture Review Committee president. I'm a board member at Sullivan Munts. I've worked on over 40 houses in the village. That's why I know the history of this house. And the little fun fact is that the other house that he owns on the property immediately to the west was the chicken coop for this. This was the original farmhouse in this area. It was a farming property, and that was the chicken coop.
So is the main house, that white house, is that a historic house?
That's
under-
1862.
Yeah. And is that why, I'm surprised they're letting you tie in to the exterior of that?
Yeah, so there's been 2 additions that have happened to it
Okay.
previously.
Yeah.
And where we're adding on is a beautiful kind of covered back
Got it.
porch area with some really beautiful detailing.
Yeah.
And so we didn't want to like stick on
Right.
to it. Yeah, so that's why we pulled it away from it a little bit.
So Jim, if I heard you, you were saying that you feel comfortable if we had something.
No,
more
I'm just saying that
detailed?
I would not feel comfortable to give them, to just go design something to development standards and talk to the town about it.
Yeah,
But I'm not saying
You want
I
something tied to it, is that what you're saying?
Well,
If you were to
I
consider
don't know
anything?
that I can get there without a continuance, so I'm not saying anything
Yeah,
right
yeah,
right
right.
now.
Well,
Yeah.
they have to go back and provide us, like, what the plan is.
I think I'm still thinking through it.
Okay, I just wanted to hear what you were
No,
saying
no,
before, yeah.
and that's fair. So you know, the staff report says no previous zoning or variances, right? So since whatever the RV zoning is that's been applied to this, the pool, the back porch, I think that was just described, that work was all done before this? Was RV? Is that correct?
I couldn't find any records of it. What I can say is we operate off a assumption, right? And this was another conversation Todd and I had, is we give people the benefit of the doubt when we're not able to find paperwork proving things, which is the case here. We give property owners the assumption that it was legally established. And one of the things that Todd had originally submitted was memorializing different encroachments, which was I think it's a deck that goes over. There was various setback issues and things that we were going to memorialize. And the discussion at that time was, we're giving you the benefit of the doubt, assuming this was legally established. If you ask to memorialize something, what you're actually saying is it wasn't, and you need a variance to correct it. And so staff, even though we don't have documents to show approvals of these things, we operate off of the assumption that they're there, we know they're there, and we assume they were legally established, and they fall under the protections in section 194019.
Okay, I just, mine was more a question, was there an error in the staff report? And no, you show no
Yeah, we just-
variance, prior variance request.
Yeah, there's no prior variance request,
Okay.
nothing to that nature.
Yeah, so we dated the house according to the property record card. So the first one was 1862. The second one, it's in the cover letter. I believe it's 1960.
Yeah, it was
1964.
Right,
So
yeah.
it obviously predates the current zoning ordinance by quite a number of years.
Yeah, I think he was more talking about like the pool and things like that.
Yeah, some of the
Yeah.
additions, and
Yeah,
I-
but,
Yeah.
yeah, based on our calculations, all of it does meet current zoning.
well, and,
Yeah.
you know, you go back to when, and I'm not saying this is the case, but one could imagine that you go back to when, whatever all the current rules were created, nobody was actually managing for the need for variances, right? That you go and you get your permit, and no one says you have to go get a variance, right? And so I'm not trying to open all that up, I just,
Yeah.
Any thoughts or comments? Is there anyone in the audience or online that has any? Okay.
And we do have 5 letters of support from the neighbors, if you'd like me to distribute that as well.
just to fill silence maybe, I could probably see my way to considering an approval of something that, you know, substantial compliance or whatever the right words are of what's described here, and that it meets development standard rules for the village. But I don't know if we need to, I don't know how I feel about if we need to limit use of the non-garage part of this 2-story garage. I mean, they've attached to the house. Do we care if they add another stove there? Right? Do we care if they're using it in different ways?
Technically, that would make it a duplex then, because it would have 2 units in it.
Well.
Could it, or it could theoretically get to the point where you have 2 units. You could,
Based on the zoning ordinance and the building code, it is a single-family residence. Even if you were to put a kitchen up there, another bedroom, et cetera, it is 100% attached to the home with an interior hallway. Just because it doesn't look like a normal attachment, it is, and it's still a single-family residence. There's no opportunity to make this into a rental up above any more than any one of your houses. You could take a bedroom and say, I've got a renter in there now. Like, you just wouldn't do that. You're zoned for single-family, and this is a single-family residence.
I'm going to do the yes button, and I'm going to say right now, I don't know that I care that there's a kitchen and bedroom over there. But the yes but is, you're in front of us for a zoning variance, and it is an opportunity for us to express some things we want to not happen because you have to ask for a variance, right? So you understand we're entitled to require that.
And if you want to make it a commitment, we absolutely
Well,
would commit to it.
It was more intended, and I'm probably jumping the gun on some of the conversation. Are there considerations, or does anyone want time to have considerations about any restrictions we might want to put on use or fixtures in that second story of the garage?
I would think that it would be worth thinking through it and not having the pressure of having to make a decision tonight one way or another, so that we've done our due diligence and feel good about whatever way that goes. But I think ultimately, I think I'm in agreement, I can get on board with getting there with approval with maybe some of those. And I don't know what those necessarily are right now.
If it helps any, from a staff, I guess, regulation standpoint, it's doable to look at building plans, and if, I'm just gonna make this up, if y'all say the second floor cannot have a kitchen or cannot have a bathroom, right? We can look at the building plans and enforce that type of condition. We can essentially restrict what the second floor would look like. We, as staff, we don't regulate rentals, right? So if the concern is he's gonna rent a bedroom in his house, or there's a full kitchen and a full bedroom and he's gonna have somebody living there, the town, we don't regulate that at all for anybody. We don't regulate Airbnbs, rental properties, or the like. So if y'all put some type of restriction that says this can't be rented out, that will be challenging to enforce.
That wasn't one of the things that came to mind for me, but maybe for others, but, I think well, I'll just speak for myself, is that there have been situations where we have granted things that use later turns into something else. And things that we didn't even think could happen and so I think just thinking through that. But I think ultimately, I mean, like you said, if it wasn't for the second house, we wouldn't be here, right? Any thoughts from anyone? You guys think any thoughts from anyone? I was about to say something, Katie.
I'm still going to stick to my original thoughts. I mean, it seems like staff has some questions, and I appreciate them working very quickly on trying to come up with the answers to them. But I think I haven't got my head fully around it yet. And that's why I think if you're asking for a motion, I'm going to make a motion for a continuance till next month to try to iron some of this stuff out, because I want to get it right, and I appreciate everything you guys have done already. And this gets complicated. And you're very good at this, but I want to make sure we're getting it right, because we only get one chance to get this thing right. So I hope you guys understand. I want to get a continuance and at least wait till next month and see where we're at with it.
I'm certainly good with that.
I agree.
As a board president myself, where people bring designs to us, I do understand the need to make sure you're having the time to make a correct decision.
Want to make
Ready for a motion?
Yeah,
All
I think
right.
so.
You want to do it, Josh?
Sure. I'll move that docket 2026-12-UV variance of use to enlarge a legally established nonconforming use of land for the construction of a detached garage at 10th South 6th Street, Zionsville, be continued to the July 1st, 2026 BZA meeting.
I quickly ask, is there anything that the board wants to see between now and then from the petitioner that would help you as you think through this, or I just want to bring that up real quickly?
Well, I don't think there's any intent to run it. And like Jonathan said, there's no way to enforce it at this time. Some sort of rental restriction would be beneficial. I'm with Jim, I'm not really worried about putting a kitchen or bathroom up there.
Just thinking any information you wanted them to gather and bring to you. No? We can always go through Jonathan's staff
Yeah.
after the fact if something comes to mind.
Yeah.
Sorry to railroad you, Josh.
No.
I'll let you finish.
Right now, I don't, but.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Amanda Miller.
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Josh Martin,
Aye.
Katie Glenn.
Aye.
All right, so the continuance, the motion to continue this to the July 1st meeting is approved
Thank you,
5-0.
guys.
All right, great. Thank you for the conversation, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience as we tried to muddle through that.
Yes. Okay. So on to other matters. I was not here for our last discussion. Yeah, please.
Mike and I had an opportunity to talk about this before he left. What you're seeing on the agenda is what we presented during the last meeting, also what was presented in 2024. And as an update to the Board of Zoning Appeals, so y'all are aware, the Plan Commission has created the ability to review text amendments via subcommittee. And Mike is going to grant the Plan Commission an assignment. One of the subcommittees is going to have an opportunity to look at this information, and we will then move forward as staff based off of the guidance of the subcommittee from Plan Commission. So right now, no changes have been made. Roger can, or somebody from Plan Commission, Roger can speak to the creation of those subcommittees. I don't believe they have been created yet.
Not fully.
Okay.
We are in the process of doing that.
We are moving forward based off feedback we have received from the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have not received any concerns or any member expressing your all's desire not to consider these changes. If at some point a member of the board here has concerns about specifically for development standard variances, which is what we hope the Plan Commission Subcommittee will focus on. If you all have concerns about changing that standard from what is currently unnecessary hardship to practical difficulty, if that concern is presented, we will definitely share that with the subcommittee at Plan Commission as well as staff and move forward addressing whatever concern is presented to us. But at this point, we've not heard any real concerns expressing opposition to, for development standard variances, the changing that to practical difficulty.
I'm going to recharacterize that because I don't believe we've had the full discussion. Mrs. Miller was not with us last time. This fell down when it was last attempted because the Plan Commission failed to have any conversation with BZA, and BZA raised their hand and said we didn't agree. I think as a member of the Plan Commission, lesson learned on that, also sitting on BZA, so I'm confident Josh and I will make sure that, that it happens that way, but I would also ask staff that anything that looks like it's touching the BZA's life, Plan Commission or staff are going to want to give an education.
Can we request that one of the BZA members that is on Planning Commission also be a part of that subcommittee?
I already am.
Okay. I was gonna ask. Okay, good. I was gonna
Keep my mouth
ask.
shut.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
I think it'll help bridge the gap.
Yeah,
And I think that will be a benefit, so there's not a disconnect.
Yeah,
So,
we'll hash through this thing.
Okay.
But yes.
I guess
Sorry
for
to
tonight's
explain.
request is members, if you've read through it, or if you haven't read through what is proposed, take an opportunity to do so. And if you have questions, concerns, comments, we can always add this to the agenda for next month to continue a discussion at BZA level. But you can always send those concerns, questions, comments to staff. We can share that with the Plan Commission and the subcommittee. Just want to make it, it's an open door, just understanding that we've started the process and we're going to give it to a subcommittee and Plan Commission. And as Jim stated, we want to make sure that the BZA is fully engaged, fully informed, fully aware of what is being presented. And as changes occur to what you see attached to the agenda, those updates will be presented to the board here just to gauge your feedback. understanding that Josh is also going to be on the subcommittee.
One thing that I would value before the Plan Commission made a determination is some view of the legal training and how it might change under this standard, right? I mean, I can read your words, we had some discussions, but some more direction from legal about how that works and how it's applied in the real world. Because sometimes when I get into reading it, I get a little hung up.
So this will be approved, that's a good point. I would agree with that. So the approval of this is not fall on BZA, it will go through subcommittee.
Subcommittee and then on the planning commission, correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry. And then if approved by the planning commission, eventually it's, I believe, approved by town council.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is where it fell down because BZA said we don't like it. And town council said, then we won't do it.
That's what I was wondering, the disconnect on, got it.
But again, before we would even get to those last steps, we're gonna make sure that the BZA is on board with what is being presented.
Yeah, and we,
You guys put a lot of time into it.
Or at least informed.
Yes.
You guys put a tremendous amount of time and energy into that last go-around on it, and for us to go back to town council and say we didn't want it, I apologize for that, because I think I was part of that, but
You
I'm
and me
glad.
both.
I'm glad I did it,
Excuse me, on
because,
the BZA side, I wasn't part of it.
okay, but at least it gave me some time to really digest, and, you know, there are times I'll take a case and I'll look at it and go, okay, well, how would I look at this if this is practical difficulty versus our current standards? So it's given me some time to look through them, and like I said, we'll, the subcommittee will go through it, we'll forward it on the planning commission, but then we'll send it on to town council. Hopefully we get it all the way through.
Speak to the legal training part of it.
yeah,
I
we'd
assume
be
your
happy to,
office is willing to
sure, we'd be
provide some training.
happy to do that, to provide training on whatever the town council ultimately approves if they do. Now, and I think you've been through training with Dan, and he loves that kind of stuff.
Do we want to have training on what is currently drafted, understanding the subcommittee has not reviewed it? Or do we want to have our training after
Wait,
Plan
I would recommend
Commission?
you wait
Yeah.
until after it, but it's
Absolutely.
unnecessary if it's not approved.
right.
Well, except that if you want this body's studied approval, they have to understand how it works in the real world.
But it would be nice to have a final draft of what that looks like, assuming
Or at least a closer draft.
a closer draft. And maybe this is the final, I don't know, but
So
once
before
you-
it comes out of subcommittee for Plan Commission, we will get Josh to give us an update as to its final, or Roger, somebody at Plan Commission at the subcommittee level can let us know when it's approaching the final draft. And then at that point, I will provide that to legal.
Yeah, we work for you. Whenever you want training, we'll provide it.
Okay.
And we might, I don't know, we might be able to get a second BZA member on that subcommittee as well, if that's something we desire to have. I don't know. Yeah,
No, there's the random Zionsville citizen thing I still don't understand.
I know, that could be, we're all Zionsville citizens, so.
Yeah.
It's something that if
No,
people are
I-
interested, I should say, if you want to be delved more into this, I think.
I don't
you
think it's a
probably
bad
can-
idea if Jim wants to agree to it, only because it is,
My point is I don't think it has to be another plan commission member, but.
Yeah.
well, it is affecting us, though.
Yeah, that's why. I'd
And the
like to
decision's
see-
out of our hands technically, and then we have to conform, so it would be nice to have another in case, yeah.
I hear you. And I just want to, I'm being a little nitpicky on some of this. A process by which a ordinance change goes to, legally goes to town council, starts with plan commission. The plan commission has decided to have a process to surface them and think about them, but next week, Josh, without any of that subcommittee stuff, could propose a zoning ordinance change at a planning commission meeting.
Yes, I could.
So this is just a more studied process to
Yeah.
do what.
And
planning
it
commission-
is still somewhat, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still kind of in our infancy on these subcommittees, it sounds like, so.
We've only gotten as far as appointing some members, not the entire
Yeah.
board, but only appointing some members. We haven't even talked about scheduling meeting dates or anything like that yet. So truly in its infancy.
But Jim's right, one of us could present this to the planning commission at any of our meetings if we desired to, but.
I think the subcommittee thing is a great idea,
Yes.
but it's not the only route.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Do we have any further business? If not, I'll enter a motion to adjourn.
Second? You made the motion.
Thank you.
I'm going over the Tipsy Mermaid. They got an
Every
outdoor thing.
single one.
Might be wrapped up now.